Hey guys, I'm here today to talk about the books that I'm going to be focusing on in the month of non-fiction November. Now I'm very excited for non-fiction November. I've said I'm going to participate the last couple of years, and then I think last November maybe I read one non-fiction book. However, this year I've found it much easier to pick non-fiction up. I still haven't read loads, but I think most months I've read a couple, and recently the books that I've been most excited about on my shelves or pre-ordering or getting from the library have all been non-fiction, and I'm also finding that I'm enjoying the few non-fiction books I read more than the many fiction books I read. So I'm really excited to hopefully find some, favourites of the year in my November TBR. So the reason this isn't a proper TBR is because one, I don't do well with proper TBRs, I find them too restrictive. And two, I have way too many books that I'm choosing between for this to be a real TBR, because realistically this would take me like 3 months to read. So instead what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you a selection of books off my shelves or books that I've ordered in specially at the library for non-fiction November, so you guys have an idea of the ones I'm choosing between, and also you can write down below, if you've read them, if you think they're worth pushing to the top of my list, or if you're particularly interested in hearing me talk about them, let me know down below. So firstly I'm going to talk about the ones I already own and haven't read. I'm going to breeze through these ones because at some point on my channel I've already hauled them and mentioned them, so I don't sort of want to repeat myself, so I'll be very brief. If you do want to see all the non-fiction books I own I haven't read, I'll link that part of my bookshelf tour down below and up above here somewhere. So you can see, I think I have about 50 non-fiction books that I haven't read, and I probably only chose about 12 off my shelves here, so these are my top priority ones, and then I'll talk more in depth about the ones that I've got from the library. So firstly we have The New Jim Crow: Mass Incarceration in the Age of Colourblindness by Michelle Alexander. I'm not going to focus on this one too much, it is what it says, and I put this in my 5-star TBR predictions video, so I have really high hopes for this book. I really enjoy, I've seen her in documentaries and interviews, I really like what she has to say, and this is a topic that I have an awful lot of interest in and would like to try and sort of start with the, one of the most well-known works in this topic, and then try and pick up some more recent releases in the topic after I've got this grounding. So there's that one. Very differently, this is Take Courage, Anne Bronte and the Art of Life by Samantha Ellis. Now I've actually started this, you can see I've got a couple of tabs in it. I'm not very far in, I'm about 60 pages in, and I put this down for the autumn readathon, so I'll be picking this back up in the month of November. A lot of these books are a bit heavier, and that's why I always worry about fully committing to non-fiction books in a month, but this is the one that is a bit lighter, it's quite cosy, and it's effectively the author doing loads and loads of research into Anne Bronte and who she really was. There's very few sort of artefacts or of her things left. Most of the things we have left are Charlotte's and Emily's, so I've been enjoying this one so far. Then I have a couple of essay collections. I really want to try and get into more essay collections. Sunshine State by Sarah Gerard. These are mainly longer form essays, they're quite academic, so I think this may be one of the slower reads, but I do really want to get to it. And then this one is a collection of shorter form essays, I'll Tell You in Person by Chloe Caldwell. I also feel like a lot of the books I have, like I said, are really serious topics, and I don't know whether this one is easier in terms of writing style, but I feel like this is going to be more like millennial relatable stuff rather than like taking on the world books, so this might be an easier one to dip in and out of as well. And then the other essay collection I have, which I hauled very recently, is What Future? The Year's Best Ideas to Reclaim, Reanimate and Reinvent Our Future, and this is by about 20 different authors. Each of them have done an essay that focuses on many different facets of future life on Earth, so there's that one. Then I have a few more. So these two I sort of put in the same category. This is Bluets by Madeleine Nelson. Don't think many people need to hear much more about this. Loads of people have read it and loved it. And this is, I never know how to say this, A Bestiary by Lily Huang. These are quite similar in tone. They're almost like non-fiction, prose and poetry blended into one. So I'm hoping to, read both of these and be able to sort of compare and contrast them. So there's those. Then this is a sort of more informative book. This is Border: A Journey to the Edge of Europe by Katja Kazavova. This is something I know absolutely nothing about and would really like to. So it's about the border between Bulgaria, Greece and Turkey, and the history of that border. So we learn all about the political, socio-economic and geographical history, and I think she talks very much about a sense of place and what home is, so I'm really looking forward to her perspective in this one. It's a bit chunkier, but there's that one. Then we have The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin. This is a very short essay and I wanted to read this for ages, so definitely going to get to this one. We have Beyond the Pale by Emily Urquhart. The subtitle is Folklore, Family and the Mystery of Our Hidden Genes. I've seen loads of people talk about this one. Emily's daughter was born with albinism and it made her want to do loads of research into the way people with albinism were viewed the world over, and this is a book of that research put together. Then we have a memoir. This is called Wasted, Coming Back from Addiction to Starvation by Maya Hornbacher. And I was kindly bought this, I think for my birthday, by the lovely Jen from the channel, Jen Campbell. And I read the first few pages when I got it and it's so exquisitely written. So I think this is going to be pretty bleak, but I really love her voice. So I've been meaning to pick it up since then. And then we have a few more sort of nature-focused books. Feral, Rewilding the Land, Sea and Human Life by George Monbiot. I've had this for a couple of years, been meaning to read it, have no excuse. This is a more recent acquirement. Waterfalls of Stars, My 10 Years on the Island of Skama by Roseanne Alexander. So the author married a man in order to be able to get a job on a remote Welsh island. The job could only go to a married couple, and they were in a very new relationship and they committed to one another very quickly in order to live on this island. So I believe it's about life on a remote island, the natural world, but also about what it did to them as people. It looks quite chunky. And the text is very small. It's only actually about 350 pages, just really high quality, quite thick paper. So I'm really hoping to enjoy this one. I love reading about islands. And then lastly, of my own books, we have Foxes Unearthed, A Story of Love and Loathing in Modern Britain by Lucy Jones. I'm thinking this could be a bit of an easier read as well compared to some of the others. So those are all of my own books that I'm choosing between. This is going to be a long video. And I did forget to mention, there are 4 prompts for this readathon. So the readathon is done by A Book Olive and Non-Fic Books, and they have given 4 prompts. Now, to be honest, I already had a really good idea of what I wanted to read, and the prompts are fairly flexible, so I'll link all the details down below. If I wanted to, I could force some of these books to fit those prompts, but I don't really feel the need to do that. I think they're a great idea, but as I said, I was already pretty determined with what I wanted to read, so I'm ignoring the prompts effectively. So these 3 books I showed you guys about a month or so ago because I'd got them from the library, so again, going to go through them quickly. We have Pimp State, Sex, Money and the Future of Equality by Kat Barnyard. This is an essay collection about the sex industry, so there's that one. A History of Ancient Britain, The Epic Story of a Nation Forged in Ice, Stone and Bronze by Neil Oliver. I think this is one I'm definitely going to give a go, and if I enjoy it, going to get through, because I think this is going to be quite an informative one and it's something that I should know about. This one may not happen. This is In the Land of Giants, A Journey Through the Dark Ages by Max Adams. I don't know if I'll want to read 2 chunky historical books about the UK in the same month, but I certainly want to get to this one at some point. I have included it just in case I love the previous one so much I just want to carry on learning, so there's that one. And then I have a couple more that I already have, and the rest are on reservation at the library, and I'm waiting for them to come in because other people have them. Greedy. So we have this one, Doubling Back, 10 Paths Trodden in Memory by Linda Cracknell. So I loved Linda Cracknell's novel Call of the Undertow, really enjoyed it. And this is, it's a collection of 10 walking tales that she does. Each walk traces the contours of history, following writers and relations, retreading ways across mountains, valleys and coasts formerly trodden by drovers, saints and adventurers. And the walks are all over the world. So for example, we have Boscastle in Cornwall, Loch Ness, Alicante, Spain, Switzerland, Kenya, Norway. A lot of them are UK based, but I'm really have high hopes for this because I just love her writing style. So there's that one. And then we have The Fire This Time, A New Generation Speaks About Race, edited by Jesper Maud. This is an essay collection in response to the James Baldwin The Fire This Time. I'll 100% be reading both of these in the month. I'm very, very much looking forward to hearing, you know, prior perspective and then more modern perspectives on the topic. So there is that. And then I have all the ones on reservation at the library. This is a long video, so apologies. So these are the ones I have on reservation. Now obviously these may not come in time. Quite a lot of them I am near the top of the list, but some of them I'm not. So we have Bread for All, The Origins of the Welfare State. So it's focused on the welfare state in the UK. It's a topic I studied during my A-levels and I really enjoyed studying it, but it's been many, many years since then, and I know, you know, it would have been at a very basic level I studied it, so I definitely want to know more. And this is a recent release that came out in the last month or so it's going to be very up to date. When I'm picking up science or history books, I always want to make sure they're quite new releases so that there isn't new stuff that we've learned that is since dated from when the book came out, so that's a very new one. Another very new one is entitled A Critical History of the British Aristocracy. Now, I keep seeing people read non-fiction books about royal families, about monarchs, and I'm not really into that because I don't believe in the concept of royalty. I find it a very bizarre thing that in this day and age it still exists, but there you go. So I thought it would be quite interesting to try and see if there was a different perspective. You know, there's so many books like that are so popular, and I wondered if there was a different perspective. I happened to look into it, and one had just come out like a month ago, so that's quite a chunky book. I'm not sure how academic it's going to be, but I'm certainly willing to give it a go. Then another massive one is White Trash, The 400-Year Untold History of Class in America. Now, I've wanted to read this since it came out last year in the US, but couldn't get hold of it in this country unless I was willing to pay a ridiculous amount of money for it. And then last month it got released in the UK in paperback, so I immediately ordered it at my library. Now, it's a massive book. I don't know if I'll get to it next month, but I just happened to have ordered it and it will probably come in next month, so we shall see. If I pick it up and start loving it, that will be one I carry on with. And obviously all these library ones sort of need to be priority, because if other people have them in the queue behind me, then I don't want to either hold other people up or have to take them back before I finish them and then have to wait in the queue again, especially because I think I've mentioned this before in a video, but in my county in England I have to pay to reserve books, so if I take them back and then there's a big queue again, I'll have to pay again for a book I've already paid for, which seems very silly. So yeah, there's that. And the next one I saw Jen Campbell recently haul and, you know, desperately wanted it, and I checked and my library had already got it in. So that is The Witch, A History of Fear from Ancient Times to the Present. This has just come out. I always want to read books about witches, but I've looked into a lot and a lot of the more popular ones have got fairly mixed reviews, and a lot of them are obviously focused on the Salem witch trials. So I think this is more of a, you know, a general view, as it says, from ancient time to the present. So I'm very much looking forward to that one. And then we have Mad, Bad and Sad, A History of Women and the Mind Doctors from 1800 to the present. Now, recently I mentioned that I wanted to read more about that because Sarah Moss wrote a couple of fictional novels that focused on mental health of women in the Victorian era, and I wanted to try and read some non-fiction stuff about it. A lot of the non-fiction books I looked into about this had really biased perspectives. So for example, some people said they were absolutely amazing, and some people said, you know, I know a lot about this, I've read loads about it, and these books are very biased in the way they're written. So it put me off, but then I thought, you know, I don't know much about it, and I sort of just need an introductory level book, and then I can go away from that book and hopefully find more resources to learn a bit more. So if you have read Mad, Bad and Sad, then do let me know what you thought of it down below. And then these next two I have pre-ordered, but they're probably going to take ages to come in, so I've also got them on audiobook because, you know, I'll need a bit of audiobook listening. So I have We Were 8 Years in Power, Essays on the Obama Era by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Now, he doesn't actually narrate it, but I listened to the narrator and really like his voice as well. So yeah, I've got this on audio and I've ordered it at the library. I like listening on audio. I tend not to listen to non-fiction that isn't memoir on audio because when I read non-fiction, sometimes I need to reread stuff. A lot of the times I want to tab loads, and obviously you can't do that in audio format, but I'm thinking I could combo these ones on audio and book form, so we'll see. And the next one, which is never going to come in at the library because I'm at 12th in the queue, is What Happened by Hillary Rodham Clinton. So I've got that one on audio. I was worried that I'd struggle with an audio because I didn't follow the US election very closely, and so I was worried that some of it I'd miss. In terms of, I didn't study any US history throughout my whole life. I've never studied US history. I struggle to transfer the concept of states and how it works out there. I don't think it completely applies to how we view counties in here in the sense of voting. So I'm just worried I'm going to miss some nuances in that, but I'm going to give it a go on audio, and if I find that it's just going over my head with both of these, then I will just wait until they come into the library. But do let me know what you think if you've audiobooked those, or if you think, you know, a lack of in-depth understanding of US politics will hold me back. So that is my ridiculously big long video about all, that is so many, so I apologise. All of them will be linked down below. I'd love to read loads, but I don't know how many I'll manage. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. I can't wait to see loads of people talk about non-fiction next month. As I said, I've been getting into it so much more this year, and I'm just hoping that carries on. I really want to try and read loads more non-fiction. I'd love to get to the point where 1 in 3 books I read is non-fiction, and it would be amazing if I could get to that point, you know, this time next year maybe, but we'll see. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!